Nobody believed the two poor brothers could change their future. They had no money, no powerful family, and no land worth talking about. People laughed whenever they saw them. But one terrible season changed everything. The same brothers everyone called failures became the heroes of the village, and they did it because they never stopped working together. In the peaceful village of Ampa, two brothers lived in a small mud house at the edge of the village. Their names were Kojo and Kwesi. They had lost both parents when they were still young. Life had never been easy. Their roof leaked whenever it rained, and many nights they slept without enough food. But despite their hardships, the brothers never complained. Kojo was the older brother. He was 28 years old, tall, strong, and hardworking. If there was heavy work to do, Kojo was always ready. Kwesi was 24. He was not as strong as Kojo, but he was very clever. He loved watching nature and thinking carefully before making decisions. The brothers had one rule. We make every decision together. Every morning before sunrise, they knelt outside their house to pray. After praying, they walked to their little farm carrying old hoes on their shoulders. As they walked through the village, some people laughed at them. There go the poor brothers. They work so hard, yet they are still poor. They should stop dreaming. The words hurt, but the brothers never answered. Instead, Kojo smiled and said,
brother.
"One day our hard work will speak for us."
Keep going, brother.
Kwesi nodded.
We will.
And when that day comes, we won't need to defend ourselves. The farming season began well. The brothers planted maize, cassava, tomatoes, peppers, and beans. Every day they weeded the farm together. When Kojo became tired, Kwesi encouraged him. When Kwesi became discouraged, Kojo lifted his spirit. They believed that no burden was too heavy when shared. Weeks later, disaster struck. The rain suddenly stopped. 1 week passed. Then another. Soon the rivers became smaller. The streams dried up. The ground cracked open under the hot sun. Farmers stood helplessly in their fields. Leaves turned yellow. The crops began dying. Every evening the villagers gathered under the big mango tree, discussing the problem. What should we do? If the rain doesn't come,
is upon us,
we will
but the rain
all
has
go
not
hungry.
come. We must find
Some
another way to
suggested
water our
praying.
crops, Nana.
Others
But how?
blamed bad
When
luck.
even the river is low.
Many simply gave up. Kojo looked over their dying crops with sadness. If nothing changes, we will lose everything. Kwesi remained quiet. That night he could not sleep. Instead, he walked around the farm under the moonlight. He noticed something unusual. Near an old baobab tree, the grass remained greener than everywhere else. He knelt and touched the soil. It felt cooler and slightly damp. The next morning he hurried home. Kojo. What happened? I think there's underground water near the old tree. Kojo looked surprised. Are you sure? No. But I believe it's worth trying. Kojo smiled. I trust you. The brothers borrowed shovels and began digging. The sun was merciless. Sweat soaked their clothes. Their hands became covered with blisters. Still they continued. Villagers passing by stopped to watch.
Still nothing.
What are you doing? We are looking for water.
Keep going.
Everyone laughed.
We are close.
Water.
Still nothing.
In this dry season, you are wasting your strength.
Keep going.
Some children
close.
even sang mocking songs as they walked away. Kojo looked embarrassed. Maybe the villagers were right. That evening he sat quietly outside their house. I don't know if we should continue. Kwesi sat beside him. Brother, remember what father used to say? Kojo smiled. A problem shared becomes smaller. And two heads are better than one. They both laughed. Then let's continue. For 4 long days they dug. Nothing. On the 5th day they were exhausted. Kojo leaned against the shovel. My arms can hardly move. Kwesi looked at the hole. We're close. How do you know? I don't. But every good thing requires patience. Kojo smiled. Then one more day. Early the next morning they started again. Hours passed. Suddenly, Kojo's shovel struck soft, wet soil. Kwesi. Before Kwesi could answer, whoosh! Cold water burst from the ground. The brothers jumped back in surprise. Fresh water filled the hole. Kojo laughed. Kwesi danced with joy. After days of disappointment, they had finally found water. They quickly dug small channels to carry water across the farm. Within days the crops began recovering. Green leaves returned. The tomatoes became bright red. The maize stood tall. The peppers flourished. While other farms remained dry, theirs looked alive. People could hardly believe their eyes. Soon the village chief came to inspect the farm. My sons, he said, how did this happen? Kojo smiled. My brother believed there was water. Kwesi replied. My brother believed in me. The chief nodded. That is why you succeeded. The chief gathered the entire village. Everyone come. The villagers assembled. The chief pointed toward the brothers. These young men have taught us something important. They did not argue. They did not compete. They trusted one another. They combined strength with wisdom. That is why they found the water. The villagers lowered their heads in shame. Those who had laughed apologized. Kojo simply smiled. We all make mistakes. Kwesi added. We are stronger when we help each other. Life slowly returned to normal. The brothers shared water freely with every farmer. They never asked anyone for money. If our neighbors eat, Kojo said, we all survive. The villagers admired their kindness. Just when everyone thought the troubles were over, another challenge appeared. Every night a troop of hungry monkeys invaded the farms. They destroyed maize. They picked tomatoes. They uprooted vegetables. Farmers chased them away, but the monkeys always returned. Again the village gathered to discuss the problem. Some wanted to hunt the monkeys. Others wanted to guard the farms all night. No one agreed. Kojo and Kwesi sat quietly beneath the baobab tree. Kojo spoke first. We need something strong. Kwesi thought for a moment. We also need something that frightens them. They worked together for 2 days. Kojo built strong wooden fences around the farms. Kwesi collected empty metal tins and tied them together with ropes around the fence. Whenever something touched the ropes, clang, 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 the noise echoed across the fields. That very night the monkeys returned. One monkey climbed onto the fence. The tins crashed loudly. The whole troop panicked. The strange sounds frightened them. They ran deep into the forest and never came back. The crops were safe.
Together we have made our village strong.
Children danced.
This harvest
Women sang.
will nourish us all.
The chief smiled proudly. My people, today we have learned another lesson. One person may have strength. Another may have wisdom. But when they work together, they become unstoppable. From that day forward, the people of Ampa stopped competing against one another. Whenever someone wanted to build a house, neighbors came to help. When an old woman needed firewood, young men gathered it for her. When a family harvested crops, the entire village joined in. The village became richer, happier, and more united than ever before. As for Kojo and Kwesi, they were no longer known as the poor brothers. They became known as the brothers who taught a village the power of unity. Years later, whenever children asked why the village was so peaceful, the elders would point to the brothers' old farm and say, "Remember this always. One person may have the idea. Another may have the strength. But when they trust each other and work together, impossible things become possible. Because two heads are always better than one. No matter how talented or strong you are, success comes faster and lasts longer when people work together. Two heads are truly better than one."